News Network, and I'm here with Frank Mariage, a mining lawyer at Fasken. So how's the conference going for you?
Pretty exciting. You see a lot of people. I can't wait to see what the numbers are. I'm pretty sure they'll exceed last year's.
So tell me a little bit about your work. What are the types of cases that you deal with?
Well, I'm, of course, what we call a corporate commercial lawyer. My clientele is mostly mining companies, and I accompany them in various aspects of their business, whether it's regulatory, mergers and acquisitions, financing, of course, is a large part of working for mining companies, since the stock exchange and issuing capital to raise funds for exploration is a large part of it. So throughout those activities, that's generally what I do with our clients. And I practice out of Quebec in the Montreal office at Fasken. We have a pretty large group, or global mining group, of over 100 lawyers that are in the mining sector. I'm focused in Montreal, working with mining companies in Canada, but also abroad, Latin America, French Africa. We go wherever our clients take us. And I also act in Quebec. I am chairman of the Quebec Mineral Exploration Association, so I get involved in the industry. So a lot of issues have caught our attention in the last couple of years, let's just say, in the mining sector.
Which issues have caught your attention? What are you seeing the top trends?
The top trends, well, the regulatory framework is becoming very complex. More and more regulations for permitting, access to land, access to territory for exploration is very, very important, and it's becoming more and more difficult. Of course, the tax regime, and also getting the attention of investors. I see a lot of people here. It looks promising. The last couple of years have been very difficult for the mining sector, especially for mining exploration companies.
Why is that?
Well, capital. Capital has been hard to raise. Just in Quebec, for example, mining exploration expenses and development of deposits, we literally went back 10 years. So we were close to $1 billion in expenses before 2011, 2012. And 2 years ago, I think last statistics came out, we were back 10 years to like $350 million. So there was a very steep decline in exploration, and mining companies were having a very difficult time raising capital. And honestly, it still is the case right now. The industry is booming. There's various sectors that are attracting attention, but for that junior exploration company, it's a hard fight. It's still hard.
How long do you think that will take to change? Or will it?
Boy, if I had a crystal ball, I don't know.
Okay.
I think it'll still, you know what, I think I'm very optimistic for 2018. I think it'll be a good year. I think 2019 will be a very good year. We're seeing a slow ramp up. So for me, I've been in the business for 18 years now, and I much rather see a long-term progress than big, because what goes up quickly also goes down quickly. So I'd rather a slow ramp up, and just to show the fundamentals are there. Obviously, gold is still attracting attention, but you have the new metals now, right? The industrial metal, the lithium, the cobalt. That's generating a lot of activity. And you and I were talking before. What's maybe hurting the mining industry right now in terms of financing is all the attention that cannabis is getting, and cryptocurrency. There's a lot of investing going in that, and obviously that money's not going towards exploration. So maybe it's a trend. We'll see how long it lasts, but obviously maybe that money will be available in the near term for mining companies.
Great. And do you want to talk about jurisdiction a little bit? So you do some cases in Quebec, some abroad. What are the differences in some of the mining laws? Is it tougher in certain places to get a project off the ground?
It is. As you can see, the Fraser Institute just released its report, where Quebec is second place in Canada, sixth in the world. We're very happy about that. But it just shows you how dangerous it can get when a government wants to start talking about mining legislation. Quebec was first in the world, 7 years ago, and we went down to 21st spot because we tried to amend the mining law, created a lot of animosity, and it's a dangerous slope. When you want to do mining reform, it creates a lot of attention. Look what's going on in the Congo right now. Major issues with Ivanhoe Mines and Glencore. The government wants to drastically change the mining code. A lot of that's going around in Africa. We call it the fourth generations of mining codes. And we're seeing Cameroon just enacted a new bill. Madagascar's working on one. Burkina Faso did it recently. And of course, we're all moving to greater transparency. That's the key. Greater transparency and greater responsibility in terms of environmental.
Right.
So that's also a key issue.
So what should investors do when they're looking to select a company in terms of, evaluating whether it's going to be encountering some legal issues?
You know what? First thing to do is to look at their disclosure, right? And you can find out a lot of things in the fine print when you read a company's MD&A, their financial statements and their notes, and a lot of investors don't do that. And a lot of times, I mean, companies who have bad news are not necessarily going to put it out in a press release when technically they should, but you're going to read it in the fine print of their MD&As. So I think that's a good start, making sure that you read their materials before you start investing.
Mm-hmm. And what happens when they have an investment in a company and then that company faces some legal issues? What should they do? Or how should they pull out?
Maybe,
should they sell?
Well, I mean, it depends what the legal issue, right? I mean, there are legal issues that are significant and some that are minor. Of course, obviously, if you look at companies that have had some more legal issues in the past with permitting abroad, I mean, there's stuff you can control and there's stuff you can't control, right? Mm-hmm. So, depending on the nature, again, read the materials, get comfortable with it, consult your advisors, and to try and determine how serious that issue is. And if you're comfortable to remain. If you're not, then sell, I guess.
Right. And so what do you see on the horizon in terms of things that maybe aren't regulated yet, or issues that are upcoming in the industry that will need kind of regulations to be introduced?
Well, I mean, I mentioned at the beginning that we're already dealing with a very, very important regulatory framework. And it's funny that, governments are trying to reduce that burden, but it's honestly, I think regulatory framework is going to increase, especially on the environment side. Mm-hmm. Just 2 weeks ago in Quebec, the government published 35 regulations under the new Environment Quality Act that mining exploration companies have to look at because it will have an effect on their activity. It will increase their costs. And that's not just in Quebec. That's happening all around the First Nations issues as well. Mm-hmm. But the regulatory framework for environmental issues is very important, and it's not gonna go away. And you know what? It's a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. It's important that mining companies are responsible citizens and make sure they have a plan to rehabilitate sites where the mining operations are. It wasn't done in the past. I'm talking 30, 40 years ago, and now it's normal that a mining company is expected to clean up once it's done with its operations, and that goes from exploration all the way to operations. Right.
So I'm pretty much out of questions. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to add?
Listen, I think 2018 will be very interesting. I mentioned the fact that lithium and cobalt was getting a lot of activity. We'll see how this plays out. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. And what I'm seeing as well in Canada is that Chinese investors are back and they're looking for deposits that they can acquire companies. That was something that went away a couple of years ago, and now it seems to be coming back. And I know they have a much stronger, a difficult regulatory framework in China to get the capital out. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, I think 2018 will be a positive year for the industry, and which is good news for everybody.
Great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us and being here today at PDAC in Toronto. And I'm Melissa Shaw with the Investing News Network, here with Frank Mariage of Fasken.
Thank you.
Thank you.